Welcome to the Real Life Buyer podcast. In this podcast, you will hear interviews with business owners, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, authors, and technical specialists in their field. These professionals will hasten your development, accelerate your career, and broaden your business know-how. Now, introducing your host, Dave Barr, interviewing with a purchasing twist.
Hello, and welcome to the Real Life Buyer. Knowing where your shipments are and being able to consistently track their progress live is becoming a critical and even an expected requirement for business. Wouldn't your business like massively reduced where is my order requests, enhance sales, and higher customer retention? My guest today, Irina Poddubnaia, is a SaaS, or some people say it's a software as a service founder, and a business consultant who specializes in operations and process optimization. She's also the founder of TrackMage, a software system that integrates with e-commerce platforms such as WooCommerce, Zapier and Shopify, as an example, to enable customers to see the real-time tracking of all their global shipments. What is even better is that there is a 14-day free trial offer and a low-cost starter plan that includes 100 trackings per month. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Irina onto the podcast. Hi, Irina.
Hello, Dave. Thank you for having me here on the podcast, and glad to finally talk about interesting topics.
Excellent. Yes, it's obviously something that I believe a lot of business owners will be really interested in. Everybody likes to know that their parcels are reaching their customers on time and they're satisfied. Now, before we dive into the details of the systems that you've obviously developed, I think it's always useful for the audience to know a little bit about yourself, perhaps about your background and what kind of drives your passion for operations, process optimization, and now, of course, TrackMage.
Right. So my journey started from actually going to China to start my own business, and where we were helping various e-commerce entrepreneurs buy products from Chinese suppliers. So we had to automate a lot in that business because there was a lot of demand for the service, but there were only two of us in the warehouse to run. So we had to automate most of those tedious parts that really distracted us from growing the business, but actually were integral part of that business the sustainability of that business. Because what we had a lot of customers asking where the packages are, because from China, this delivery time is significant. It usually is from like 2 weeks to up to however many months it takes. And the customers, sometimes they are impatient and they refund even the wholesale customers. I'm not talking about retail customers here. But when that business existed for some time, for 2.5 years, and then later we decided to move out of China. After that, we were left with all the systems that we developed for that business. So we had the inventory management system, the fulfillment, the shopping cart, which is not very useful in the international market because it was integrated with Taobao and Alibaba in China, which are not accessible outside of mainland China. And then, when we moved out and we finally understood that the real problem is with this communication gap that happens between the customer and the business when the customer actually buys. So the customer buys and then they don't receive any information. And that leads to all kinds of interesting side effects, like getting customer support requests, getting refund requests if a customer is really disappointed or if they are anxious and they cannot wait for the package, or if the customer really isn't sure that they're getting their package. So if they have some kind of trust issue with the business. So we discovered that this need was not fully satisfied in the market. And that's how we came to the conclusion that we should repurpose all that software that we developed for ourselves initially and bring it to the wider market. Yeah. And like that didn't happen right away. So it wasn't in a snap from like, oh yeah, we moved out of China, like our first business was over, and then we just start with software as a service. It wasn't like that. So we spent 4 years in the marketplace, consulting and helping other e-commerce businesses set up their stores, optimize their processes. And one of the customers actually had that problem with tracking numbers. That's when we realized that we can definitely do something with the software that we already had. And that's how TrackMage was born. Finally.
Okay. Yeah, sounds quite interesting. Now, obviously, a lot of people are used to having a tracking number. Now, that is readily available from most carriers. So what's the kind of difference? What's the enhancement that somebody gets by using TrackMage as opposed to just asking the carrier for the tracking details, for example? Can you explain the real benefits that people will obtain?
Well, there are multiple benefits. So the first one that comes to mind is that when you are the retailer and then you are sending your customers the tracking number and redirect them to UPS, FedEx, DHL, whichever carrier you're using, you're actually redirecting your traffic to those sites. You are not keeping in touch with them, like you are not really holding their hand while we're waiting for the package. What we have noticed is that customers, they visit the tracking pages 1 or 2 times per day. So literally the person, when they receive the tracking number, they go there 1 or 2 times. A lot of e-commerce businesses, they are spending money on retargeting ads, on some marketing campaigns to bring their customers back to the store. And then there is this hanging opportunity to bring the customers to the store when they actually want to be there. So what TrackMage really offers is this page that is replacing the carrier's page. We still show the same information that the carriers show, but still that information is on the page with the brand name, additional products that the customer can buy, social media accounts that they can visit while we're waiting. So all those things, they are not available on the carrier's pages. Sometimes customers even forget which store we ordered something from if we use a UPS tracking link. So it's just some package that's coming their way. That's it. Other upsides would be that when you're using the tracking page that you provided, it's not just an opportunity to return for the customer to return to your store, but also for you to see what they actually do on that page. So you see the analytics, you understand how the customer is behaving, what kind of products they're looking at when you are showing them additional products. And then the last one, the last bit is you can ask customers for a review at that same page. So once the product gets delivered, the customer is usually very happy to receive a package, or sometimes if the product is broken or something happened, they're not very happy, but they still leave a review on the page. And this way you will be able to always prevent that negative feedback from getting on social media. But if it's a negative feedback, but if it is a positive feedback, you are also going to capitalize on this positive energy that the customer is spreading. And then you are going to be able to use those reviews on product pages and additionally in other marketing materials, because just read your reviews, you see what kind of benefits and what kind of value your product is bringing to the customer, and you can always spin it and use it on social media, on other marketing materials and elsewhere.
Okay, that's quite a lot of benefits there. Can you able to put some of those benefits into the context of let's say a typical customer where they used to do it the old way, as you say, redirecting their customers elsewhere. And instead, when you put your systems into place and you work with them, can you give us an idea of the upscaled business, the more sales they achieved? Is there any numbers you can put behind the benefits of your system when it was put into place?
Well, I guess the typical case would be when the business actually didn't have any tracking functionality whatsoever. They just send the customer the tracking number, and then the customer has to even Google how to track that number. Sometimes that happens, and it's there are some even more drastic cases where we're not sending any information at all. And then, the customers get anxious and they start reaching out to customer support. So let's say this is a typical case where the business was sending the tracking number. So first thing that happens is that the customers, when they are visiting the pages with products, so as I mentioned, 1 or 2 times per day, that's around let's say they're waiting for 2 weeks. So that's around 28 visits. if they are very eager to receive the package. So during that time, they are also seeing additional products that the business is selling. And what we've seen is that during that time, before receiving their first package, the customer is like 5 to 10% of customers actually buy additional product. So they haven't even received their first package, and then they buy another one. So yeah, this is what happened. One other thing that happened is that the customers, when they are constantly in the loop, when they understand that their packages, the customer support requests, they are slowly going down to like by 70% from the initial threshold. Because the most frequently asked question in customer support for e-commerce stores is, where is my order? The Vismo request.
Yeah. Okay. Now, obviously, we're talking about software, and people get nervous about software integrations. So how easy is it to integrate your software into people's systems? We mentioned a few platforms earlier on. Now, maybe the people in the audience don't use those systems, but they may still want to use your services. So how do you go about integrating? How easy is that process?
Well, if they are using some of those systems that we mentioned before, so Shopify or WooCommerce, the integration is literally just installing the app. So when you are on one of those platforms, you go to the App Store, and then you install the app. Or if you are using WooCommerce, it's going to the WordPress org or in your plugins page, and then you just type TrackMage, and then you will find the plugin. So it's literally one click. After that, the configuration part happens, where you need to show which packages you want to sync, which orders you want to sync, just see which statuses make sense for your business, because we made everything customizable to very different business models that are existing in e-commerce. So those two systems, like WooCommerce and Shopify, were the most robust. When it comes to our systems, we are integrated with Zapier. So Zapier is this no-code solution where you can connect one system to another with configuring a workflow. You can ask your IT department to do that for you if you want. If you actually have an IT department, we have an API, and the API has documentation so that you can hook it up in whichever way you want to do that. Also, we have a lot of embeddable widgets that can be put into your store, or in even added to your admin panels, where you will not have to get the entire tracking page. So you don't have to use the solution as this integrated system, I would say. You can just take bits and pieces and plug them in your system wherever you find suitable. That's what I would say.
Okay. Now, so that's the integration with the customers. Then you have the integration with the carriers. There's lots of carriers out there. You go to different countries, there's a huge range of different carriers. So how does your system integrate with so many different carriers? Is it a very simple process? Is it very robust? Is a key thing as well.
Well, just to clarify, the customer doesn't have to do anything. If you're an e-commerce store owner, you just use the system, and all the information is just coming from the carriers. We already developed the integration, and we're pulling the data from the carriers themselves. So whenever there is an update, we're pulling the updates with every 15 minutes on the paid plans, and every 2 hours for the free plan. That's where we are standing. So you don't have to integrate with any carriers. You don't have to log into your FedEx or UPS account. You don't need to provide any API keys and secrets. All that is already done. So you will just need to log into TrackMage, input the tracking number, then the carrier is going to be detected. If the carrier was not detected automatically, you can always select the one, and that's it. All the information is going to be already there, and it's going to be also translated. Because if, for example, you are drop shipping from China, the information might come in Chinese characters, but we're translating everything. So everything is going to be displayed in English on your customer side. Oh, by the way, that's another piece of functionality that we have on the tracking pages. We have localizations. So it's going to be in English only if you want it to be in English. If you are shipping to Germany, for example, we have the support for German language, and it can be selected as the default language.
Is there any limitations at the moment now if you're talking you've got a really big e-commerce business and you've got obviously movements of goods in the hundreds per day. Is there any limitations to the system in any way?
Not ones that I know of. So I believe there are certain limitations when it comes to the customer's ability to really. Yeah, that's a trick question, because depending on your plan, you will have very different limits in terms of how many packages you can track.
Yeah.
But for the enterprise level customers, you can always reach out to sales team, and we're going to negotiate with you the price for like each shipment tracking. So like per se, there is no limitation to the number of packages that you can track, and any like, I don't know, like storage limits. Like we don't do any of that. So the only two things that we charge for are the number of shipments and the number of users that you have in your team.
Okay. So yeah, if you have many people using the system, then obviously the number of users, like individuals, basically, if you have a team of 10, you're talking 10 users, just to explain to the audience what we mean by users. So, okay. Now, another thing that is quite important, certainly to retail businesses, is obviously how well their carriers perform. I'm just intrigued to understand how your system perhaps can help them to show how the carriers are performing in real time. Is there any accountability or statistics or measurable data that's also available out of your system that could help them in that?
Yes, we do have analytics for carrier performance. So you can see in comparison how well each carrier is performing. And another thing that is really important there is that you can specify for which date range, and from which country to which country, because the destination also matters, because some carriers, they might perform well in US, but when you are shipping to Brazil, for example, you might not see the same performance, and you might consider to ship for specific carriers for that specific destination. Another thing that we have is the average transit time. So you can see which carrier is consistently late or which carrier is consistently ahead of time. You can always see that. And of course, you have the very flexible grid, where you, like the table basically, where you can filter out by specific criteria, and you will see how each carrier is performing just from the raw data perspective. If you're looking for a specific thing, for example, like a 1-star review, and see which one has the like 1-star review for the actual delivery experience. That's when you're going to be able to pull the data and see that in perspective, so that you can compare, like, oh, for this carrier, there are no bad reviews. For this carrier, we have so many bad reviews because they're breaking stuff. So we should definitely negotiate or like just shift the volume to the other one that doesn't break.
Okay, so that's really great, being able to extract data. And that data, how does that come out in the form of, is it Excel, or have you got some choices that people can extract the data into?
Yes, you can export the data in Excel and CSV files. Also, we have the grouping functionality. So, for example, if you want to just get the bulk, let's say you're not using Zapier, you're not using anything, but you just want to get all the tracking pages, tracking links, and input into some other software, you can always just group all the shipments based on the customer email, for example, or the order number, and then get the bulk of those tracking links. So the tracking link is very handy for wholesale businesses, for example. Like everything is reliant on those Excel spreadsheets. But an Excel spreadsheet is very hard to maintain and update and keep it up to date with, like, let's say you have 1,000 shipments, and then you have you have to update every one of those. That's a very tedious task. That's why our tracking pages, they support grouping by order. And you will see all the shipments that the order consists of on the same page. And it's updated in real time. So you can just literally take the link from the tracking page, send it to your customer once. You don't have to spam them with like every update about every shipment. And then you don't have to worry about it. The tracking page is still going to show them all the packages, and the customers, they are not going to have to ask that many questions.
So I think it's really important to really explain the benefits of this system then to the audience. And it can help you, obviously, as you say, to negotiate with your carriers. Let's say your carrier isn't performing as maybe you've agreed in your contracts. You may have to take this data and demonstrate that over periods of time, short periods or long periods or whatever you want to do, how they're performing, and therefore you may be seeking some compensation for poor performance. After all, it's affecting your business. And as you said there, there's things like damages are also being picked up. So again, that's a bad experience for your customers, and you can use that again with your discussions and negotiations with your carriers. So I think that's quite useful data to have. Does the data, when it come out, and enable, or do you have to do it yourself, put it into any graphical formats, or is that a feature perhaps coming later?
Well, currently we only have the two graphs that I described, the carrier performance, one against the other, where you see the entire shipment volume, and then you see based on the statuses, like where everything is, that information is already represented as a graph in a graphic format. And as I said, you can specify the time span and the destination to make it even more specific. What else? I guess there is always room for improvement and for some key figures to pull that out of the data. I wouldn't say that we have all the possible graphs in the system, but the necessary ones, they are already there.
Yeah. So the important thing is there's a vast amount of data there, and you just need some competent people on the customer side to take that data out, slice it and dice it, and show it in all sorts of different ways. But the important thing is there, you have some graphical representations, which makes life very easy for some people. But if they want to go further, then there's all the opportunity there for them to dig deeper into the data and create their own visualizations. I think that's a really important feature.
Yeah, one other point that I want to mention is that sometimes the carriers, they start to reuse the tracking numbers, and that's how you lose the history for the package that has been delivered. And sometimes the customers, if they bought for some PayPal or other system, they can actually file a refund for a package that they received a long time ago. And that can damage the business unless the business actually has a backup of the data, like here is your tracking history and here is how the package traveled. You already signed this package. Well, in that case, the customer will have to back away and then just not get the refund that they wanted to get. Well, I'm just talking about those let's say dishonest customers that actually receive a product and then they try to scam the business to actually just get them some extra bucks out of it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I suspect you've got lots of stories of where you've had some great customer experiences. And I'd love you to share, if you could, a few of those now for the audience so they can see how your systems have impacted those businesses. So is there a couple you could pull out now and share with us on what has happened from before they met you and installed your systems to afterwards? And if there's any other key benefits that you can bring out and share, I think that would be really interesting to hear.
Okay. So one of our best customers and my favorite case study to share is Metal Family. So before having anything in place, they were selling the comic books to their fan base. They have a YouTube channel with 3 million followers. And when they launched their comic book, they thought that this comic book, they printed 10,000 copies. That is going to sell in maybe a couple of months. It was sold in less than a week. So they had to process that many orders. And most of the time, they were encountering very unpleasant issue with every third email was misspelled. Because the customers, they were quite immature because it's an animated series, YouTube, and the customers, they don't really see what they're typing. And that resulted in an astronomical surge of customer support requests so that the customers, they paid the money, but they didn't even receive the order confirmation email because the email was not correct. So another thing was the misspelled address. When you are sending something to a misspelled address or the zip code that's missing or some other discrepancies that's happening, you may see that the package, even if it's dispatched from the post office, sometimes it just goes back. And it basically returns. So that was the problem for Metal Family. Another problem they were having was that the customers, even when they were already, if they did everything correctly, They filled in their email correctly, the address was correct. But then the post office or the postal services, they were not notifying the customer that the package has arrived. And those packages, they spent 1 month at the post office and went back. At that point, when we met with Metal Family, they had around 1,000 packages returning back or staying in the post offices, so that they had to deal with all that hassle. And 15,000 customer support requests, like asking, where is my comic book? That was the most noticeable part. So what we did, we helped Metal Family automate the validation of emails, because that was the first pain point. The emails now, they are validated at the checkout, and the validation script is available for anyone in TrackMage. So if you sign up, like, you can just put it on any opt-in form you want or any checkout email field. So this script actually validates if that email is misspelled. The first version just validated, oh, this is an invalid email. That never stopped the customers. Like, they mashed submit button 7 times. Then we changed the wording. For example, it was john@gmail.com. Did you mean Gmail? And then the customer, yes, Gmail. That's what I meant. And they submit. The first thing is that we help them with validation. Also, we validated the address, but the address validation script is not yet available on the platform. So what else we did? We helped them configure all those follow-up emails that notified the customer where the package is, where is it traveling to. And once the package was at the post office, we said that the package is available for pickup. And the customers, they actually visited those post offices, and that astronomical amount of 1,000 packages spending their time at the post offices, it reduced to 45. It's the rolling average, because the customers were always coming and picking them up. So, and the last bit, Metal Family was not even collecting any reviews at all. So once we introduced the email follow-up that, okay, you received your package, how was it? The customers, they delighted the business with every 5th customer left a review, which resulted in 2,150 reviews from 10,000 packages, which is close to 20% of conversion to a review. Why it worked? I have talked to some other industry professionals, and they said that it's an unheard of amount of reviews. So was it incentivized? Well, it wasn't. It was just the right timing. So once the customer received the package, they opened it up, they are very excited to what they received, then they leave a review. I have personally went through experiences where I receive an email to leave a review before I receive a package. That's great. Yes, you are asking for a review for a product that I haven't even touched. So this mistimed email definitely reduced the likelihood of me leaving a review. Because when I receive a product, really, I will not go digging through my mailbox to see was there an email asking me for a review? I need to go back and leave them a review. Yeah. And then, you asked for other use cases. So in TrackMage, we also had the very interesting case where the system was really not integrated with anything. It's called Stamp Card or something. That was a wholesale system, and they were selling not just products, but industrial equipment. So what they did, they hooked up TrackMage with Zapier, and they were asking their customers for a review 1 week after the product was received. That also resulted in some great conversion to reviews. And what also it resulted into was the customer support requests went to 0, because there weren't that many customers, but they already were notified about the packages.
Wow. Some really interesting things, trying to pull out some of the highlights there. So you've had a massive positive surge in reviews for the customer, basically, well, from the customer to the seller. There must be a considerable reduction in costs. Just think of the administration alone that they were having to try and deal with when there were problems must have been enormous. And I guess, as you mentioned, would have been a lot of returns. Those have now been pretty well eradicated, I guess. So that must have had, just on those 3 things alone, a more positive customer would mean, I guess, some real savings to the bottom line. And I guess as a consequence, a lot more happy customers means more sales, Did you happen to get any numbers around the cost reductions or the increase in sales revenues?
When it comes to cost reduction, it really depends on the before state, because if a business was not measuring something before, it's very hard to say like, oh, it's like it was a 50% increase or like 70% decrease, because when the business wasn't just really measuring anything, it's hard to tell. But from what Metal Family has shared, that the previous customer support requests, like each of those misspelled emails, which was a third of the volume, that was like around 3,000 emails were misspelled, and each one of them reached out to customer support around 5 times through different channels, like sent an email, reached out on social media, on our social media, and that escalated very quickly. So that buzz and the like not really good publicity for the service, it just went down or basically was eradicated. And so that was very significant because like now it's one thing, the other day it's the other thing. Like it's just like it doesn't exist anymore, right? When it comes to operations and the other part was the additional sales. So we literally measured the monthly sales, and 7% of direct conversions from the tracking page. We had that recorded in the system. Like, so they use WooCommerce. So in WooCommerce, we were able to track all those orders that resulted from direct conversion from the tracking page. There are some indirect conversions as well, because when the customer comes to the tracking page, we can go back to the store. And then if they convert in the store, it's not possible to see how well the conversion worked. But still, the data is there. At least like a very high level.
Yeah,
I cannot say that it's very detailed. So yeah.
Sure. Well, that's still some great numbers, great statistics there, and great benefits that you can see from just implementing your systems. That's really fascinating. Now, before I ask my final question, how do people find out more about TrackMage? Where should they go to? You're on social media, what's your website, etc.?
Yes. If you're curious about TrackMage, please welcome to TrackMage.com. That's our main website where you will see not only our website, but also the links to all the social media where we're present. We're present everywhere, almost, even on TikTok. Yeah. If you would like to reach out to me personally, that would be on LinkedIn. It's Irina Poddubnaia. I know that my surname is unpronounceable, but you can see it in the show notes. Yeah.
Perfect. So we're seeing obviously lots of change out there at the moment for all sorts of unfortunate reasons, shall we say. But there's some interesting things coming through, like artificial intelligence is really starting to show itself. You know, everybody's talking about chat, GPT, etc.
Yes.
So I'm intrigued now to see your vision. What do you see as the key developments, perhaps features and enhancements that are coming out that could have a direct impact on your software, the customer's experience, etc., for the movement of products and such around the market?
Yes. So when it comes to artificial intelligence, I have picked up a very interesting idea from one of the influencers. So just to have some kind of chat functionality on the analytics side. So let's say you have this chat inside of a system where you can ask a question like, which carrier is performing the best out of all the carriers that I'm using? This one, this is the data, this is it. So instead of having the graphical representation or crunching the data or having to, tweak different filters to see the answer to your question, you can literally just type in the question, and artificial intelligence will be able to answer that question based on the data that you have in the workspace. That's like the experimental part that we are trying to integrate right now. And I guess it just, the future will tell if it works or not.
Brilliant. It does sound quite fascinating. In a way, the pace of change is quite enormous. And obviously for yourselves to keep up to date with that must be very, very taxing. So just understand the kind of team that you've got that is supporting this business. Have you've got a number of different technical experts in the background, or can you give us some information on that?
Oh, sure. We have a team of like I wouldn't say that we have a very big team right now. We just have a marketing team and we have a development team, and we're still growing. Just recently, we hired 2 developers for like one front end and one back end, which is going to significantly accelerate the development of features.
Right,
Yeah.
great. So you're really increasing the competence and the strength and depth of your teams as well. So it sounds like you've got some great solutions out there, huge potential impacts on your customers and how they can refine their business, improve the speed and the enhanced, should we say, the enhanced belief and feeling of the customers, their customers as well, and how well they can be serviced. So it sounds really, really interesting, and it'd be an interesting place to obviously keep an eye on and follow over the next few years and see how things develop. So I found this really interesting. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we finish today?
I guess we only talked about the front-end side, the side with like the customer communication side. There is a lot to uncover when it comes to operations and getting your entire team on the same page. That's where TrackMage is also very well equipped, where you can get your entire team looking at the same shipment volume, and your customer support team can also be part of that process. So they are no longer disconnected from the flow of information. Right now, we're working on some interesting functionality to marry the e-commerce side with project management side, because like my other expertise is a processes optimization, and I was always looking for a system that's going to provide everything out of the box. So TrackMage is going to be this like the first of its kind e-commerce project management system. That's what's coming. But like right now, I could say that it's getting better. Probably in a couple of months, we're going to be the best.
Wow, there's a statement there, one of the best. So that's going to be really fascinating to see how that develops. As I said, it's been really interesting. I've got a lot of things to consider today, and I'm sure the audience have quite a few things to consider as well. But the obvious thing is go and have a look at your website and at least try out the trial, the 14-day trial, etc. Brilliant. Thanks very much for your time today, Irina.
Thank you, Dave.
Best of luck for the future, and I'll keep an eye on your business and see how it goes. Take care then. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
So there's another Real Life Buyer podcast. I do hope you enjoyed it and it's given you some ideas and inspiration for greater action and achievement. If you are a purchasing or a supply chain professional, business owner or director, come and join my Facebook group, the Purchasing and Supply Chain Community Hub, a safe place to engage with like-minded, friendly people. See you soon. Bye.